Hi, I'm Marty Nathanson of Marty's Department Store in Vidalia. And if it's fashion that you're looking for at prices that you can afford, shop at Marty's. Now, I wasn't born in Natchez, but this is where I ended up. I was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1911. There were 6 kids in my family. The first 4 were born fairly close together. Then 15 years passed, and the twins were born. That's me and my brother Arnold. By the time I was in school, my oldest brother Nat was already grown and he was a dentist. We all lived together in the same house in Brooklyn. Nat had his dental office on the first floor and we lived upstairs. I learned to play the piano and I was pretty good. The piano was in the room next to Nat's office, dental office, so I'd come home after school and I'd practice the piano. And if I stopped playing, Nat would bang on the wall, and that was a signal from him that I should keep on playing some more. He said it relaxed his patience. Now, if you like music, New York was a great place to be in the 1920s. It was the jazz age, and all the best musicians played there. In the summers, New Yorkers would take their summer vacations going up into the mountains to the resorts there. Guys like me could get summer jobs working in the resorts. I played the piano, and I worked with some musicians and performers who went on to become quite famous in their time. Now, my brother Nat used to say, you can't get through life doing just one thing. Times change, and you have to be prepared to change with the times. It was true back then, it's probably even truer today. In 1929, times did change. The Great Depression hit, and I gave up on the idea of being a professional musician. I went to college and then to law school, and in 1935, I became a lawyer in New York. Now, because of a very unlikely family coincidence, my sister was married and she was living here in Natchez. I took a trip down to visit my sister. That's when I met B. Lopo, and B and I were married in Natchez in 1940. We went back to New York where I was working, but a year later, 1941, Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor and we were at war. I enlisted in the Army and B came back to Natchez to live. When the war was over, we decided to stay in Natchez. But in those days, Mississippi didn't want a bunch of Yankee lawyers coming down and stirring up trouble, so they made it a little bit difficult to qualify to take the bar exam. B's uncle had a clothing store in Jackson, the Parisian shop on North Capitol Street. So we moved to Jackson and I worked in the store there for a while and I learned the clothing business. Came back to Natchez as the manager of a dress shop on Commerce Street. When they built the bridge across the river in 1940, there was a toll. It used to cost 10 cents to cross the bridge each way. In 1955, they took the toll off of the bridge, made it free to cross. And in 1956, we opened Marty's Department Store. It was a little bit slow at first because people from Natchez weren't so accustomed to crossing over to Vidalia to go shopping. But we made it through the first year, and I wanted to give some presents out to people who had helped us through that year. So I went to Pat McDonough's liquor store and I bought some pints of Old Crow, gave them out. A little while later, the phone rang. It was Sidney Murray, the mayor. He said, "Marty, did you give whiskey to the garbage men?" I said, "Well, yeah, that was their Christmas present." He said, "Well, don't do that again because they're all drunk and they're spilling the garbage all over the streets." So the next year I gave out neckties. They weren't as popular, though. In those days, I could buy advertising time on the radio for $1 a minute. Every month I bought 100 minutes of advertising time. I did my own ads. I wrote a little jingle that I sang. And in time, Marty's became a very popular store. I think there were 2 reasons for our success. The first was we were able to get some of the most popular clothing lines, particularly for girls and young women. And second, we had really great customer service. For example, if a young person got a job and they needed some clothes for work, we just opened them up a charge account, no credit checks or anything like that. And they'd usually come back as regular customers after that. Teenage girls, they'd come in and they'd take 3 or 4 dresses off the rack and say, "Mr. Marty, I'd like to take these home with me. Put them on my mama's charge account." And so they would go. Maybe they'd keep a couple of them. Maybe they'd bring some of them back, take some more out. Try doing that at the Walmart.
Yeah.
Now in 1970, the store where I learned the business in Jackson, the Parisian, was being run by our cousin, Raymond. One Saturday afternoon, Raymond dropped dead of a heart attack in the store. He was 45 years old. started to thinking maybe we need to slow down a bit. The kids were off doing other stuff. They didn't want to come into the business. So after 20 years, we sold Marty's department store. But I wasn't ready to just stop doing some stuff. So I got a real estate license and I opened an office in Vidalia. Then I became certified as the appraiser for the Concordia Bank. And I taught a class at Colin to help other people get their real estate license. Now, Bee died too young. Bee was only 69 years old when she died. She's buried over there with me. A couple years later, though, some friends introduced me to another lady, a recent widow in Natchez, Frances Kling. Frances and I were married, and we had 12 good years together. I wanted to make it to the millennium, but it didn't quite get there. Lung cancer got me in March of 1999. I want to thank you all for coming by. It gets boring here night after night with the same old ghosts. Use some new spirit around here. So I'll keep texting while you drive and eating that fried southern food, and you'll be back here before you know it. One more thing to add. Marty was my dad, and I was the kid that didn't want to take over the store.
Oh, shame on you. We'd love to raise you.
Sorry? Did you? Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Off to the next stop.